So I was actually able to find a tag on the axle telling me what axle number it was.
Nice.
At which point I'd looked that up, which it's a FABCO model 1800 series, steerable front axle.
This truck is a 4x4, big old monster. Just figured there's really nothing out there. I mean, Jake found a manual online for it, which is really smart on his part. I think he researched it, found a manual.
Did some research at home and was able to find this so that we could actually know what we were working on.
So we've done these before for other trucks, as far as like the seals for the shafts and all that. But this first time we need to do these what do they call these?
Ball studs.
Ball studs. So I don't know. They're basically this truck's version of a ball joint.
Yeah, a really heavy duty ball joint. Yeah.
I mean, I think I hear them call them kingpins as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so this is the ball stud that holds the knuckle on there, right?
Yeah, that's the ball stud for the bottom. This is the ball stud for the top. So this will slide through the top of the knuckle, and it has a spot on top of the axle side that it actually sits inside of to locate it. And this is the bottom side. And it's for the bottom side, it's got these rubber caps that it sits in. They call them bearings. To me, it's just a rubber bushing, but it sits inside there. It gets greased so that it moves freely. And then it's got a nut that locks it in place down below. It's got a bolt that holds the knuckle. The bolt goes through this ball stud into the axle side to hold it together. And then on the knuckle side, it's got an adjustment screw to adjust tension and to eliminate play. So I've got the adjustment nut.
Yeah, probably why we had to replace it right here.
Mm-hmm.
Just loose, kind of like you have like you know, Chevys are very common for that. You have a loose ball joints, and you torque the wheel, and it goes like that.
Okay.
That was basically the symptom on this.
So this is the cap that goes on top of the steering knuckle. This threads in. It's got a lock nut to hold tension, and then once you screw this in, that bolt that goes through the upper ball stud into the knuckle, it sets the vertical play, eliminates it. And then once you get it where you want it, you set the jam nut tight, and it'll maintain that. And the thing that's nice about them is, within reason, if those bushings start to wear in, break in, you can readjust that nut later to eliminate that play. At least that's what I read from that instruction manual.
So it's crazy doing years and years of like all kinds of different things around here. Like they're like, hey, can you do this? We're like, yeah, bring it in, right? So we got it, and we're kind of like, all right, just taking some stuff apart, you know? It's like we see how it goes. We found a manual. Once we have specifications, right? It's just all it is. It's just nuts and bolts, really, at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But the nuts that need to come off of this thing
Or nuts.
right? They're nuts. Like, yeah, that's nice. So these things go to crazy torque. Was it
2,000 foot-pounds.
2,000 foot-pounds. Yeah.
2,000 foot-pounds.
2,000 foot-pounds, right? So then I go on trusty old Amazon, right? I get a torque multiplier. It goes up to 2,000 foot-pounds. Okay, so this thing is basically a planetary gear inside, and you put the 3/4 right here, and you turn this, it'll tell you right here. You know, whatever you turn right here, it'll multiply to the other side. All right, so, but you already know though, like when you're trying to remove something, the torque is way higher than when you're actually trying to set it, right? So we figured out the torque as far as like when we're trying to put it back together, a certain amount of torque, like I don't know, it's like, I think it's like, don't quote me on this, don't hold me to this, but somewhere in between like 400 to 600 foot-pounds will be 2,000 foot-pounds on this, right? We're still gonna double check that when we put that on there. But we got this, we'll be able to torque this on there. But we weren't able to do it. So when we first got this torque multiplier, we got the forklift, we jammed this against with the big old long bar. And then we had like the really long, like a super long.
A big 3/4 bar.
3/4 bar, trying to break that thing loose. But I'm like, man, I needed to put it back on, right? I'm not trying to break the tool. So we used that to try
big 3/4 bar and it wouldn't touch it.
Nothing. So what we ended up doing was, man, after getting a bunch of parts wrong from, give them the VIN, right, and everything, you get the bunch of parts wrong from the dealership. We finally got all the right stuff, but we ended up having to source these out somewhere else. these nuts. They didn't have them. So we ended up having these right here, getting these, but I made sure we could locate these before I did this to this nut, right? So basically just cut it, and once I cut it, you just hear a loud ass pop, right? Because there's a lot of tension on it. So, I mean, I had my welding gloves and my mask and whatever else I can, whatever, said a little prayer, whatever, and then I just cut it. So as soon as you cut it, it's just boom, like it just pops, right? And, you know, I got the air hammer at that point, and then just kind of, you know, you just hit it on the one side and then just started whatever. Once I figured that, I told him, you know, hey, this is how we're gonna do it, right? I cut the other side just to make sure it didn't, no surprises, and you know, he basically, like I said, just nuts and bolts at that point, right? You just assemble it and all that. So now, but you know what? Online, you find there's really no help on like what kind of tool. Like it'll tell you what tools to use in this and that. And I found the torque multipliers, right? The ones that are pneumatic or whatever. Man, that's like some of those are $4,000 tools, right? And then we'll probably do another one of these in like 2 years or 4 years or never, right? So we have like this torque multiplier. So we're like, we're trying to figure out a way. So, you know, we cut this one, got the new nut. We're gonna put that on there. We're gonna reassemble it. We have all the specifications here for everything that we need to do as far as reassembly. You know, we're gonna change out any seal, anything that we took apart, cut the nut. But before we do that, let's make sure that we can get a new one here, and we know we have the right parts. Because once you cut that, let's say you can't find it, you know, that we're screwed, right?
Yep.
We won't even be able to. At some point, we're like, man, if we just can't do it, we'll put whatever we took apart back together, and we're sorry, we're idiots, and take your truck. You can, you know, take to somebody who.
Hopefully, somebody can do it.
Yeah. So the tips and tricks is don't ever cut anything or just whatever, you know, before you know you have the new one, you know, in stock. And it took us forever to try to find these, you know, you took it apart, so.
As far as tips and tricks go, Jimmy showed me a really good one right before I took the first knuckle off. So you take the lower ball stud out first. Once you get that out, grab a floor jack, capture the knuckle between the axles so that once you take the top out, it doesn't just fall on you, because I wasn't sure how heavy that was. Luckily, it's lighter than a drum, but still, even at that case, you don't want that falling and hurting somebody. So make sure you capture it so that you can get a good grip on it and get it down safely without hurting yourself or damaging more parts.
Yeah, so there's some seals in here, or this is another part of it right here. We'll re-grease that and all that, but instead of trying to get this to go through, like there's a snap ring right here. I figured we just undid the
U-joint cap?
The U-joint cap. Took the U-joint cap off.
I got it right here.
And the U-joint, yeah. So that way we could just bring that all out as an assembly. And here's the U-joint right here. Little tiny thing. Okay, so this goes on here like this, like that, and then the front axle, the half shaft or whatever you want to call it, it'll bolt onto here. So that way when you engage 4x4, right?
Yep.
That way when you engage 4x4, it'll turn the front wheels. People watch this video and be like, what are you crying about? I mean, we couldn't find any help anywhere other than this thing right here, and especially for removal and assembly. So I don't know, maybe like, I think there's a lot of mechanics out there that could do this job, no problem, but it's just one of those things where once you start seeing like how much torque goes into it and this and that, it's like, you know, it gets a little scary, but I mean, it's just nuts, bigger parts, heavier parts, nuts and bolts, whatever. But as long as you can get the stuff off, we'll be able to torque it with this thing right here, with the torque multiplier.
For sure. So I was actually able to find a tag on the axle telling me what axle number it was.
Nice.
At which point I'd looked that up, which it's a FABCO model 1800 series, steerable front axle. And that's where I was able to find this instruction manual for it.
Oh no, I didn't put it online. I mean, we're here to help, you know. So I mean, if that's
I found it online.
If that helps somebody, you know, sometimes you just have to. Here's a cool thing that, you know, like I'm like, hey, do this. You, if you need any help, like, come get me, whatever, this and that. So, you know, it's just, and that's why I'm so proud of my guys here, right? So you come in, you do your job, this and that, you go home and, you know, you leave work behind. But this happens here all the time. Like some guys are just kind of like, man, I don't know how to whatever, this and that. And they'll go home and on their off time, right, they're sitting there like trying to figure out how to do. And I'm pretty sure a lot of mechanics that really care do that all the time, right, for their companies. Like they're like, I need to figure this stuff out, whatever. That's something that I'm super proud of around here. Like you just go home and try to figure it out.